What's your plan to turn the campaign around?
You saw it today. How many people you get draw crowds like I drew today? You find me any more enthusiastic than today? Huh?
I mean, I don't think you want to play the crowd game. Donald Trump can draw big crowds. There's no question about that.
I am so confused, everybody. Thank you for joining us. If you haven't heard, the big interview, it was supposed to be the interview, was going to avail Americans, the party, everybody who was concerned, worried, everybody who saw with their very own eyes what happened on Thursday. And really, everybody, including myself, and I know you because we have a very sophisticated, amazingly intelligent audience, we knew this for months. We knew this for years. What happened on Thursday in the debate night was not a surprise. Wasn't it? Were you surprised? Let me know in the comments. Were you shocked to see this stumbling, shuffling vegetable on Thursday that the left woke mafia media had been touting as somebody who was sharp as a tack, who's with it, who's probing, judicious, he's vivacious, he has energy. They've been saying this, they've been lying to us, especially cackling, soulless Kamala, who now is playing Frank Underwood, trying to take over the entire presidency, vying inside the party. Internal PDFs and memos have been leaked. She's been trying to vie for herself, and she's absolutely livid that there's even any mention of somebody stepping up in front of her. This was supposed to be an interview. It was supposed to be hailed as the big interview with George Stephanopoulos from ABC. Just happened on Friday night. That was supposed to assuage and allay all fears, all concerns. And in this clip, he's actually touting crowds at his rally. When George asks him pointedly, what are you going to do to turn the country around? What are you going to do to turn this around? His only response, did you see what happened today? Which his rally was at a middle school gymnasium that can barely fit the people that wait in lines for the bathroom at Trump rallies. I'm actually kind of surprised. I felt that this was going to be a total layup, a softball interview like they usually are. They're going to talk about ice cream cones and puppy dogs. But it almost feels like another sucker punch because this party absolutely devours their own. Stick around to the end because you're not going to believe what some of the highest, most respected, at least, they're the top-ranking Democratic commentators, pundits like David Axelrod, who's considered, one of the leading premier Democratic advisors, consultants, commentators, etc. Jonathan Karl, Martha Raddatz, the whole lot of them. Wait till you hear what they say towards the end. But let's check out some more. I'm going to share some highlights from this interview. And if you've been noticing this train wreck that's been happening called Joe Biden for the last God knows how long, it's not just the last 18 months, 6 months, 5 years, 3 years. We've been watching this train wreck for decades. And now it's just finally the chickens are coming home to roost. Let's check out some more.
A bad episode or the sign of a more serious condition?
It's a bad episode. No indication of any serious condition. I was exhausted. I didn't listen to my instincts in terms of preparing, and I had a bad night.
You say you were exhausted, and I know you've said that before as well, but you came, and you did have a tough month, but you came home from Europe about 11 or 12 days before the debate, spent 6 days in Camp David. Why wasn't that enough rest time, enough recovery time?
Because I was sick. I was feeling terrible. Matter of fact, the docs with me, I asked them, they did a COVID test because they were trying to figure out what was wrong. They did a test to see whether or not I had some infection, a virus. I didn't. They just said a really bad cold.
And did you ever watch the debate afterwards?
I don't think I did, no.
Well, what I want to get at is what were you experiencing as you were going through the debate? Did you know how badly it was going?
Last I checked, I don't remember a cold or getting a cold or jet lag causing me to act like a complete stumbling, mumbling, fumbling vegetable. I mean, just last I checked. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments.
Yeah, look, the whole way I prepared, nobody's fault mine. Nobody's fault but mine.
We know that.
I prepared what I usually would do, sitting down, as I did come back with foreign leaders or the National Security Council, for explicit detail. And I realized about partway through that, I get quoted, the New York Times had me down at 10 points before the debate, 9 now, or whatever the hell it is. The fact of the matter is that what I looked at is that he also lied 28 times. The way the debate ran, not my fault, nobody else's fault. No one else's fault.
But it seemed like you were having trouble from the first question in, even before he spoke.
Well, I just had a bad night. You've had some bad interviews once in a while. I can't remember any, but I'm sure you did.
I've had plenty. I guess the question, the problem is here for a lot of Americans watching is you've said, going back to 2020, watch me, to people who are concerned about your age. And, 50 million Americans watched that debate. It seemed to confirm fears they already had.
Well, look, after that debate, I did 10 major events in a row, including until 2 o'clock in the morning after that debate.
So many excuses.
I did events in North Carolina.
Do great leaders make excuses?
In Georgia. Did events like this today. Large crowds, overwhelming response, no slipping. And so I just had a bad night. I don't know why.
And how quickly did it come to you that you were having that bad night?
Well, it came to me as having a bad night when I realized that even when I was answering a question, even though they turned his mic off, he was still shouting. And I let it distract me. I'm not blaming it on that. But I realized that I just wasn't in control.
But part of the other concern is that this seems to fit into a pattern of decline that has been reported on recently. New York Times had a headline on July 2nd, Biden's lapses are said to be increasingly common and worrisome. Here's what they wrote. People who have spent time with President Biden over the last few months or so said the lapses appear to have grown more frequent, more pronounced, and after Thursday's debate, more worrisome. By many accounts, as evidenced by video footage, observation, and interviews, Mr. Biden is not the same today as he was even when he took office 3.5 years ago. Similar reporting in the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal. Are you the same man today that you were when you took office 3.5 years ago?
In terms of successes, yes. I also was the guy who put together a peace plan for the Middle East that may be coming to fruition. I was also the guy that expanded NATO. I was also the guy that grew the economy. All the individual things that were done were ideas I had or I fulfilled. I moved on. And so, for example, well, that was true then. What's Biden done lately? Today, just announced 200,000 new jobs. We're moving in a direction that no one's ever taken on. I know you know this from the days in the government. I took on Big Pharma. I beat them. No one said I could beat them. I took on all the things we said we got done. We were told we couldn't get done. And part of it is what I said when I ran was I wanted to do 3 things. Restore some decency to the office. Restore some support for the middle class instead of trickle-down economics, both from the middle out and the bottom up. That way the wealthy still do fine, everyone does better. And unite the country.
But what has all that work over the last 3.5 years cost you physically, mentally, emotionally?
Well, I just think it cost me a really bad night, bad run. But,
A bad run?
George, I'm optimistic about this country.
Nobody's optimistic
I don't think we're a
about you.
country of losers that he points out. I don't think America's in tough shape. I think America's on the cusp of breaking through in so many incredible opportunities. This next term, I'm going to make sure we have straighten out the tax system. I'm going to make sure we're in a situation where we have health care for
premeditated,
all people.
Deliberate,
we're in a position where we have child care and elder care, free up, and all these things. The one thing I'm proudest of is, remember when my economic plan was put forward, a lot of the mainstream economists said it's not going to work.
That's not what this interview is about.
Guess what?
You're not campaigning.
We now have
We want to
16
find out if you're
Nobel
nuts.
laureates, 16 of them
If
in
you're a
economics,
complete
saying
vegetable.
that Biden's next term would be, based on what he wants to do, enormous success. Trump's plan would cause a recession, would significantly increase inflation. I've made great progress, and that's what I plan on doing, and we can do this.
I understand that, and I'm not disputing that. What I'm asking you is about your personal situation. Do you dispute that there have been more lapses, especially in the last several months?
Can I run the 110 flat? No.
He's having a
But I'm
lapse
still
right
in good
now.
shape.
Are you more frail?
No.
I know you
Come
spoke.
keep my schedule.
I know you spoke with your doctor after the debate. What did he say?
He said, he just looked at me. He said, "You're exhausted."
You're
I
exhausted.
said, "Okay." I have medical
This is
doctors
just
traveling
tragic,
everywhere.
folks.
Every
Tragic.
president does, as you know. Medical doctors, some of the best in the world, travel me everywhere I go. I have an ongoing assessment of what I'm doing. And they don't hesitate to tell me if they think there's something wrong.
I know you said you have an ongoing assessment. Have you had a full neurological and cognitive evaluation?
I get a full neurological test every day with
What?
me. And I've had
That's
a full
BS.
physical. I had, I've been at Walter Reed for my physicals. Yes, the answer is
I know your doctor said he consulted with a neurologist. I guess I'm asking a slightly different question. Have you had the specific cognitive tests, and have you had a neurologist, a specialist, do an examination?
no. No one said I had to. No one said. They said I'm good.
Would you be willing to undergo an independent
second
medical
opinion.
evaluation that included neurological and cognitive tests and release the results to the American people?
You
Look,
should.
I have a cognitive test every single day.
No, you don't.
Every day I have that
You're
test.
lying.
Everything I do. Not only am I campaigning, but I'm running the world. And that's not how it sounds like hyperbole. But we are the essential nation in the world. Madeleine Albright was right. And every single day, for example, today, before I come out here, I'm on the phone with the Prime Minister of, anyway, I shouldn't get into detail, but
Great. He's going to give away national secrets on the freaking.
I'm on the phone
public
with the new
television.
Prime Minister of England.
You
I'm working on what we're
stumbling,
doing with
stuttering
regard
prick.
to in Europe with regard to expansion of NATO and whether it's going to
mother-
stick. I'm taking on Putin. Every day, there's no day I go through there are not those decisions I have to make every single day.
And you have been doing
That's
that.
why
and
we're
American people have
worried.
been watching, yet their concerns about your age and your health are growing. So that's why I'm asking, to reassure them, would you be willing to have the independent medical evaluation?
Watch me there's a lot of time left in this campaign.
We are watching you.
It's over 125 days.
So
I'll
the
make
answer,
a decision.
the right answer right now is no, you don't want to do that right
No,
now.
I've already done it.
You talked a lot about your successes at the beginning of this interview, and I don't want to dispute that. I don't want to debate that. But as you know, elections are about the future, not the past. They're about tomorrow, not yesterday. And the question on so many people's minds right now is, can you serve effectively for the next 4 years?
No.
George, I'm the guy that put NATO together, the future. No one thought I could expand it. I'm the guy that shut Putin down. No one thought could happen. I'm the guy that put together
I don't know if you noticed this or not. I have to pause it. The President of the United States just admitted to expansion of NATO, which I think, personally, NATO is a complete waste of taxpayer dollars, resources. It does nothing but antagonize and pacify and babyify other countries. And really, it's just kind of a colonialism. It's a euphemism for colonialism, really. Putin warned, Putin expressed, I'm not saying Putin is an awful human being, but Putin expressed cogently that I have issues with you expanding NATO. If you expand NATO, that is going to put pressure on me to act. And he did act. And then Biden said, well, I never expanded NATO. He just admitted it on live television, ladies and gentlemen.
South Pacific initiative with AUKUS. I'm the guy that got 50 nations, out, not only in Europe, outside of Europe as well, to help Ukraine. I'm the guy that got Japanese to expand their budget. And for example, when I decided we used to have 40% of the computer chip in it, we invented the chip, that little chip for the computer chip. It's in everything from cell phone to weapons. And so we used to have 40%, we're down to virtually nothing. So I get in the plane against the advice of everybody, and I fly to South Korea. I convinced them to invest in the United States, billions of dollars. Now we have tens of billions of dollars being invested in the United States.
We're talking about the future. Stop rehashing and regurgitating platitudinous talking points.
I just, anyway, I don't want to take too much credit. I have a great staff.
But I guess my point is, all that takes a toll. Do you have the mental and physical capacity to do it for another 4 years?
Of course not.
Please, I wouldn't be running if I didn't think I did. Look, I'm running again because I think I understand best what has to be done to take this nation to a completely new level. We're on our way. We're on our way. And look, the decision recently made by Supreme Court on immunity.
It's really,
the next president of the United States, it's not just about whether he or she knows what they're doing. It's not about a conglomerate of people making decisions. It's about the character of the president. The character of the president is going to determine.
So it's not about, he just said it's not about the president knowing what he's doing.
Let me ask you a tougher, more personal question. Are you sure you're being honest with yourself when you say you have the mental and physical capacity to serve another 4 years?
Yes, I am, because, George, the last thing I want to do is not be able to meet that. I think, as some of the senior economists and senior foreign policy specialists say, if I stop now, I'd go down in history as a pretty successful president. No one thought I could get done what we got done.
But are you being honest with yourself as well about your ability to defeat Donald Trump right now?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
You say that, and let me challenge you.
Sure.
Because you were close, but behind going into the debate. You're further behind now, by any measure. It's been a two-man race for several months. Inflation has come down. In those last few months, he's become a convicted felon, yet you're still falling further behind.
You guys keep saying that. George, you know polling better than anybody. Do you think polling data is accurate as it used to be?
I don't think so, but I think when you look at all of the polling data right now, it shows that he's certainly ahead in the popular vote, probably even more ahead in the battleground states. And one of the other key factors there is it shows that in many of the battleground states, the Democrats who are running for Senate and the House are doing better than you are.
Well, that's not unusual in some states. I carried an awful lot of Democrats last time I ran in 2020. Look, I remember them telling me the same thing in 2020. I can't win. The polls show I can't win. Remember 2020, the red wave was coming. Before the vote, I said that's not going to happen. We're going to win. We did better in an off year than almost any incumbent president ever has done. They said in 2023, all the tough races, we're not going to win. I went into all those areas, all those districts, and we won.
All that is true, but 2020 was a close race. And your approval rating has dropped significantly since then. I think the last poll I saw was at about 36%.
36%.
The number of Americans who think you're too old to serve has doubled since 2020. Wouldn't a clear-eyed political calculus tell you that it's going to be much tougher to win in 2024?
Not when you're running against a pathological liar. Not when he hadn't been challenged in a way that he's not
because
been
you tell
challenged.
the truth.
Not when people...
You've had months to challenge him.
Oh, sure I had months, but I was also doing a hell of a lot of other things, like wars around the world.
Yeah, like wars.
Like
He has to start wars.
Together, like working... Anyway.
But look, do you really believe you're not behind right now?
I think it's all the pollsters I talk to tell me it's a toss-up.
No, it's not a toss-up.
And when
You're
I'm behind,
surrounded by heathens.
There's only one poll I'm really far behind. CBS poll.
Power-hungry
NBC,
heathens.
And
New York Times and NBC both have you about 6 points behind in the popular vote.
That's exactly right. New York Times had me behind before anything happened to do with this race. Had me behind 10 points. 10 points had me behind. Nothing's changed substantially in the debate, the New York Times poll.
Just when you look at the reality, though, Mr. President, I mean, you won the popular vote in 2020, but it was still deadly close in the Electoral College.
7 million votes.
Yes, but you're behind now in the popular vote.
I don't buy that.
Is it worth the risk?
You don't buy reality?
I don't think anybody's more qualified to be president or win this race than me.
You know, the heart of your case against Donald Trump is that he's only out for himself, putting his personal interest ahead of the national interest. How do you respond to critics who say that by staying in the race, you're doing the same thing?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Well, I don't think those critics know what they're talking about.
They're just wrong?
It's wrong. Look, Trump is a pathological liar. Trump is, he is... Have you ever seen anything Trump did that benefited somebody else, not him? You can't answer, I know.
I've questioned him and his allies as persistently as any journalist has.
No, I know you have. I'm not being critical.
Yeah.
I'm not being critical. But look, I mean, the man
Got nothing.
is a congenital liar.
A what?
As I said, they pointed out in that debate he lied 27, 28 times the times, or whatever number, over 20 times. Talk about how good his economy was, how he brought down inflation, how this is a guy who, unlike only other president other than him is Hoover, lost more jobs than he created. This is a guy who told us to put bleach in our arms to deal with COVID, with over a million people died. This is a guy who talks about wanting to get rid of the health care provision we put in place. This is the guy who wants to give the power back to big pharma to be able to charge exorbitant prices for drugs. This is the guy who wants to undo every single thing I've done. Every single thing.
I understand that, and I understand that's why you want to stay in the race, but have you convinced yourself that only you can defeat him?
I convinced myself of two things. I'm the most qualified person to beat him, and I know how to get things done.
If you can be convinced that you cannot defeat Donald Trump, will you stand down?
It depends if the Lord Almighty comes out and tells me that, I might do that.
Well, I mean, on a more practical level, Washington Post just reported in the last hour that Senator Mark Warner is assembling a group of senators together to try and convince you to stand down because they don't think you can win.
Well, Mark is a good man. We've never had that. He also tried to get the nomination too. Mark and I have a different perspective. I respect him.
And if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi come down and say, we're worried that if you stay in the race, we're going to lose the House and the Senate, how will you respond?
I go into detail with them. I've spoken to all of them in detail, including Jim Clyburn. Every one of them. They all said I should stay in the race. Stay in the race. None of the people said I should leave.
But if they do?
Well, it's like, they're not going to do that.
You sure?
Well, yeah, I'm sure. Look, I mean, if the Lord Almighty came down and said, Joe, get out of the race, I'd get out of the race. The Lord Almighty's not coming down. I mean, these hypotheticals,
What are the
George.
responses?
If all...
But it's not that hypothetical
psycho.
anymore. I grant that they have not requested the meeting, but it's been reported.
I've met with them. I've met with a lot of these people. I've talked with them regularly. I had an hour conversation with Hakeem. I had more time than that with Jim Clyburn. I spent time with many hours, off and on, the last little bit, with Chuck Schumer. It's not like I had all the governors. All the governors.
I agree that the Lord Almighty is not going to come down, but if you are told reliably from your allies, from your friends and supporters in the Democratic Party, in the House and the Senate, that they're concerned you're going to lose the House and the Senate if you stay in, what will you do?
I'm not going to answer that question. It's not going to happen.
What's your plan to turn the campaign around?
You saw it today. How many people can you draw crowds like I drew today? You find me any more enthusiastic than today?
What?
Huh?
I mean, I don't think you want to play the crowd game. Donald Trump can draw big crowds. There's no question about that.
You can draw a big crowd, but what does he say? Who does he have?
What?
I'm the guy supposedly in trouble. We raised $38 million within 4 days after this.
Oh, so it's just about money.
We have over 1 million individual contributors. Individual contributors. Less than $200.
Trump raised $54 million after being convicted.
I've not seen what you're proposing.
Yeah. No.
You haven't seen the fall off in the polls. You haven't seen the reports of discontent in the Democratic Party, House Democrats, Senate Democrats.
I've seen it from the press.
You're lost.
You know, I've heard from dozens of your
You're a
supporters over the
total
last
vegetable.
few days, and a variety of views. I grant you that. But the prevailing sentiment is this. They love you. And they will be forever grateful to you for defeating Donald Trump in 2020. They think you've done a great job as president, a lot of the successes you outlined. But they are worried about you and the country, and they don't think you can win. They want you to go with grace, and they will cheer you if you do. What do you say to them?
I say the vast majority are not where those folks are.
Incorrect. 36%.
I don't doubt there's some folks there. Have you ever seen a group at time when elected officials running for office aren't a little worried? Have you ever seen that?
Not like this. Apples and oranges.
Same thing
pal.
happened in 2020. Oh, Biden, I don't know, man. What's he going to do? He may bring me down. He may.
Mr. President, I've never seen a president at 36% approval get reelected.
Hello.
Well, I don't believe that's my approval rate. That's not what our polls show.
Our polls.
And
What,
if
the
you
ones in
stay
your pocket?
and Trump is elected, and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel in January?
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the good job as I know I can do. That's what this is about. Look, George,
Did he just say
think of it
goodest?
this way. You've heard me say this before. I think the United States and the world is at an inflection point where the things that happen in the
here
next
comes
several years are
empty
going to determine what the
talking
next 6-7 decades look like. And who's going to be able to hold NATO together like me? Who's
We
going to
don't
be able to
need
be in a
NATO.
position where
It's a
I'm able to
waste.
keep the Pacific Basin in a position where we're at least checkmating China now? Who's going to do that? Who has that reach? Who knows all these? We're going to have, I guess, a good way to judge me is you're going to have now the NATO conference here in the United States next week. Come listen.
Okay, before I play this reaction from David Axelrod, one of the top Democratic consultants, let me know in the comments, what in God's name did you think of that interview? Did that interview quell any, perspective of catastrophe that 99.99% of Americans had after the debate? Did that change your perspective? Did it illuminate anything? Let me know in the comments. Here, I'm gonna play a quick clip of David Axelrod, then a few others. Check this out. Here's David Axelrod.
Well, the question is, did he change the minds of voters who were watching that? I don't really think so. Jim, I think the thing, and some of it I found sad, but he seems not to be able to compute the fact that people have these questions about him. He said, when George Stephanopoulos asked him if he'd be willing to take a cognitive test, he said, I take a cognitive test every day. Well, the fact is that may be true, but 75% of the American people think he failed. That he fails. I mean, they've lost. And so this is a real problem for him, and it's something that shows up in every poll. And in terms of where he stands in the race, no politician out there will has the same perception that the president does, that this is a tied race and he's right in the hunt right now. He was 10 points ahead 4 years ago. He's 6 points behind now, worse in most of the battleground states, and now in danger of losing states that weren't thought to be in contention. So what you see, Jim, you saw it in Wisconsin today. Tammy Baldwin, the senator from Wisconsin, wasn't at this event. Why? Because she's up for re-election.
Here's Jonathan Karl right after the interview. George Stephanopoulos asked him what he thought.
But there was nothing in this interview that is calming nerves of jittery Democrats who fear that Joe Biden is on a trajectory to lose this race, to lose to Donald Trump. In fact, for some of those people, the interview is raising new concerns, particularly the fact that he is unwilling or unaware of the fact that he is in a dire situation here regarding the campaign, that he is losing in the view of many Democrats. And frankly, in the polls you cited, that he is losing to Donald Trump.
Martha Raddatz, the president is talking to a lot of people, but he appears to be listening to a very tight circle. A very tight circle, and administration officials I have spoken to said that very tight inner circle is telling them he can win, that he needs to keep going. This, of course, includes his wife, Jill, who they said is lashing out at those who want him to get out of the race.
Notice how they're absolutely going right after him. They are absolutely devouring their own. I got to be honest. I'm very, very surprised that Stephanopoulos even, followed through and gave some pushback on some of the questions, especially relating to his cognition and his chance of winning, and the fact that he doesn't seem to have any wherewithal at all. That people are dreadfully concerned in his base about what's happening and how he appears and how he comes across to the American public. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, Nez Nation. Please let me know in the comments down below. What are your thoughts? I try really, really hard to respond to all the comments. Obviously, it's physically impossible, but please, please, please respond. Let me know. Tap that thumbs up. It takes you a nanosecond. It's absolutely free. It's not about me. It helps us get more reach through the algorithm. Please tap that thumbs up. And if you made it this far, God bless you. I would highly recommend, I'd implore you to sign up for our free newsletter. It's in the pinned comment, show notes, and description down below. Become a Nez Nation Insider. It's absolutely free. All you got to do is give us your best email, and boom, you never miss out on all the latest breaking top story current events, breaking news right to your inbox that mainstream media doesn't cover. So leave your best email down below. And I look forward to hearing from you. Check out these videos coming up on the screen right now. Subscribe and follow down there. And as always, may God bless you and may God bless America. I'll see you soon.